I honestly feel like I have one of the best jobs in the world. I get to be a big sister or an auntie or a virtual friend to so many people globally. I got this message yesterday. She says, "Hi, Burb. I'm an early 20s African tech girlie. I found your channel early this year and you changed my life. I started applying your teaching to my life and I have seen an incredible boost in self esteem, confidence, and self advocacy. I have a story time about something that happened to me recently. I can share with you just to confirm what you've been teaching us and also to tell younger girls like me to be vigilant. Let me know if it's okay, if I can share with you. Thank you so much." And I'm like, share away. I love hearing stories like this. She titles it Burb, I've been petty and I learned from you. Let's see what she has to say. She says, "I'm early 20s, new grad, and I started my first job in one of the biggest tech corporations in the US. For background, I'm African and I came here for school. I lived through abusive and incompetent male figures, but I've always excused them and was conditioned to build them up. This is how bad it was. I once gave my hard earned money as a teenager to a male friend to pay for our food because I didn't want to emasculate him. And then I found you right out of college and I burned my cape." Yes, proud auntie. She says, "This incident started at a tech summit where I was volunteering. I had a name tag that showed an unambiguously West African name, and it started attracting Dusties. This particular Dusty was an African man, at least early 40s. He started by calling me his sister, which, if you don't know, is a ploy many African men use to get you to drop your guard before they exploit you. I had learned it, and once he called me sister, I shut it down. Sir, I don't know you. Then he started commenting on my body, how young I was working here, and then asked what I did. I'm an engineer, so I described my job and capacity in software infrastructure development. Without missing a beat, he asked me to work for his startup and use my skill to help with their prototype. He doesn't even have a functional prototype yet. Then I asked him about his company, what makes them different. Basically, it was an app for women to monitor gynecological health. This raised flags because I remembered your segment on creepy men who are passionate about women's sexual health but do nothing for men. Then I asked him how much he was going to pay me for my expertise. He was befuddled, perplexed, flabbergasted that I could ask for compensation for my time. He used the sister thingy to push um, that I support him pro bono. I told him, not going to happen. Fast forward, end of day, he started getting flirty. I shut that down as well. He asked to connect, and I gave him my LinkedIn and work email. Talk to me there. He was blowing up my LinkedIn, asking for my number repeatedly. I learned he was in town just for the conference and he was leaving the following day. He asked to meet and talk business. He sent the address of a hookah bar, which was my first sign not to go, but the benefit of the doubt. I asked him to send me a ride. I usually give a nearby address about 5 minutes away. He refused and offered I carpool with his male friends. I said no thanks and got my ride there, my second sign to have sat home. Getting there, it turned out it was a double date where he wanted to parade his young catch to his friend and his date. And he didn't want to talk business. He didn't order food, even though he was hungry, so he was sharing his friend's wings and fries. I was also hungry. I suggested we get food from an African place nearby after his friend was done. He agreed. As we waited, he kept making lewd, sexual jokes. The punchline were, of course, women's private parts. It was disgusting for a man in his 40s, but even more alarming for a man building an app for gynecological monitoring. He kept pushing alcohol on me. I said I couldn't drink because I was working late. He insisted I drink the water he got for me. My first observation was that the bottle was sealed, but the glass of ice wasn't. He could have put something in it, so I refused and changed the subject. He steered the conversation towards his business, and to my shock, this adult man had zero business initiative, and I was embarrassed for him at his minuscule understanding of business. He didn't know the basics of etiquette, networking, or product lifecycle. Very logical leaders. Shifting to a subject in his expertise, he asked to sleep over. Heck no, you're not coming to my house. He tried the so you won't bat an eye if I was sleeping in the street. I rebuked the hobosexual from the depths of hell. I said firmly and with a smile, I'll bring you blankets and directions to the nearest soup kitchen. He couldn't believe it. He dropped the age old bomb. Wow, you sound bitter. Who hurt you? I busted out laughing and just retorted, do I look hurt? At that point, I got so irritated, I told him I'll skip the meal and take my food to go. His friend finally finished, saw off his date, and we walked over to the African restaurant. This is where I got petty. He picked his meal, I picked mine. There was something on the menu I wanted to try. Out of courtesy and assuming he was paying since he invited me out, I asked if I could add that item to the order. He said, you can add whatever. You're paying for us." I thought he was joking. I laughed and added the item. He said, "You're the rich ex company woman." The waitress brought the check and handed it to us. He refused to take it from her. She stood with her hand out for over 30 seconds. This man didn't budge. It was the most humiliating feeling ever. People started staring, and the waitress just dropped it on the table and left. I told him with a smile, of course, if I pay for this food, I'm taking all of them home. He scoffed and said it's equality. This 40-year-old man was comfortable with me, early 20s, picking up the check. It's all equality when they want to exploit you. This man is twice my age. Couldn't fathom paying for me for my expertise, couldn't offer up a ride, couldn't pay for a meal. I stepped towards the counter in my cute heels, called the waitress, paid for the food, and asked her to pack all the food together when it was ready. I went back to the table. His friend saw what happened and got flirty. I guess he thought he found a naive girl he could leech onto as well. I laughed and I asked him if he wasn't just on a date. He said he didn't mind stealing me from his friend. My date. I'm sorry. I was making small talk as the food was being prepared. They were so oblivious to their disrespectful attitude that they didn't notice I had called a ride. They were talking about dropping me home later and laughing. That said it all. The food came all packed up. The idiot asked which was his. With a smile, I told him taking that I was taking it all home. They aggressively tried to help me carry the food, aka snatch and run. I made a small scene and walked quickly outside where my ride was waiting. They were coming outside probably to get it from me when they saw me skedaddle into my ride. It was an escalade. So hopping in with my tiny self brought us almost at eye level. I pushed the food in, made the most devilish grin and eye contact while I shut the door. I swear I wish I had taken a picture of their faces. They couldn't believe it. They kept staring as we drove away. Yeah, I did that. Dusty, crusty, musty, gold digging man. I immediately blocked him on everything. I got home annoyed but giddy. I wasted my time, but it's not every day you act out all your shower thoughts. Plus, I have food for days. Anyways, to the ladies, especially African girls, never shrink yourself for a man. Never work pro bono. Know your worth and ask for your earned compensation. Never subsidize a man's lifestyle. They only want equality when it's time to lead or provide. Self serving demons. Above all, put yourself first. Never inconvenience yourself for anyone. Leave at the first red flag. I didn't in the name of politeness, but it never happened again. Thank you, Burb. You are the auntie I wish I had growing up. Reading this did give me a sense of satisfaction. However, she describes herself as a small woman, and this man had a friend with him. She could have been overpowered. She did ignore some red flags, and she acknowledges that. And she got out and got lucky. Hopefully, for the next time, she's not meeting a man that is already sending off red flags. In public, she did the right thing. She didn't allow them to pick her up and take her to the restaurant. So great. And I'm so glad that she's safe and she got home and she blocked him. But please don't meet up with these older men, these dusty, crusty, musty men. Just don't meet up with them. Let them just wallow. Don't communicate with them at all. It's not worth it. But this made me smile. High five. Like, comment, share, y'all.